watching it from the other angle, and I don't know why I can't see all the things, but I'm going to stop my share and try it again. Okay. Still, I'm not seeing that. Okay. And I can't move it around at all, which I think that's wrong, and it might be my computer. As far as tournaments, though, that is also on here. If you click on this teams tab and then click on, say, girls travel teams, see if it'll come up for me because my computer's being weird. Oh, it's not supposed to look like that. Okay, there we go. Right there, you'll see on each age group, you'll see the different tournaments we are planning for each. And as you know, some of these, you know, this is in Baltimore, St. Louis, Kansas City, places like that that require a lot of travel. Who knows what will happen, quite honestly. And we hope that you'll just bear with us this year as we get through it. We're going to try to get in every tournament that we can. I know we're all anxious to do it. Honestly, I'm one of those ones that's hoping that they'll approve the vaccine for younger kids soon. It would make me feel a lot better. I don't want anybody's child to be at risk. But that's where you go if you want to see what tournaments are planned for wherever your child might be playing. And Matt, the boys teams are updated, right? Yeah. So we got those. We're still waiting on some information like on these power leagues. I know that Matt is working on that really hard. So COVID's kind of this is what we're doing right now, but it could change any day. And it's just, you all know, this is kind of the world we're in right now, and kind of got to go with the flow and do what we can. I feel like we did a really good job last year. We, yes, there were some kids who tested positive, but everybody had good results. We had some quarantines. There was one or maybe two teams that ended up having to miss tournaments because of, but by and large, we got through it really well. And I'm hoping that'll happen again this year. So Matt and Chris, do you guys want to talk about the different teams we'll have, what the levels and commitment are? I can point to that on this on the website for you.
Yeah, I can go through that. So my name's Chris Wakefield. For those that don't know me, I am the Genius Program Manager at Richmond Volleyball Club. I really oversee the girls travel program at our club. For those that have been here before, we'll be offering a lot of the same teams that we have in the past. For parents and players that are new, I'll kind of go over that information with you guys as well. So each age group that we have at our club roughly has 2 to 3 teams in terms of levels. We offer everything from 12-year-olds all the way up to 18-year-olds. The 12-year-olds age group that we have, they're really the only team that has one level in their age group. A lot of that has to come down to the fact that there aren't a lot of kids at that age looking to play travel volleyball. Our 18-year-olds team this year will only have 3 teams. We'll have a national, a zonal, and a state level team. All of the rest of the teams that we have from 13s on up to 17s, we'll have 3 to 4 teams. And just kind of go over the level, especially for the new parents and players in our club. Our national level team is our highest level team that we offer. We offer that 14-year-olds all the way through 18-year-olds. That schedule is going to be looking about 11 to 12 tournaments in this season. Like Darcy mentioned, anything can happen at this point in terms of COVID and things getting pushed back. And as much as we can, we'll try to adjust and stay ahead of the curve on that. But I know last year we had some drop tournaments that that affected us, and that's just the way that things were. But in terms of practice schedule for the national team, you're looking at 3 practices a week. Something that will be new for the national teams this year will be our partnership with Bon Secours, who will be heading our strength and conditioning program. So if you have a daughter or a son that makes our national team, they will participate twice a week in our strength and conditioning program that will be led by Bon Secours. Those strength and conditioning programs will won't conflict with your practice schedule. They will either book in before your practice or after the practice. We will have all of those sessions at the Bird Hill location. Unfortunately, that is where our strength and conditioning center is pretty much housed right now. So for a lot of our teams, we'll have to make that 10 to 15 minute travel from Stonebridge over to Bird Hill to have that done. That particular team, the national team, also does compete in nationals at the end of the year. So that is something that's built into our schedule also. Our next team below that is our zonal level team. They also practice 3 times a week. They have a very similar travel schedule to our national team. The biggest difference with them is going to be, number one, the strength and conditioning program and the tournaments that they actually participate in. There'll be a couple different tournaments that the zonal team will participate in that the national team will not be in, but they'll also have 11 to 12 tournaments in the season. Below them will be our state level teams. Our state level team practices twice a week. No strength and conditioning for those guys. And you're looking at about, again, anywhere between 9 to 11 tournaments in the season, mostly everything within the state of Virginia. There's a couple tournaments that we're looking at that they'll be in Washington, D.C., Virginia Beach, and then one tournament maybe in Rocky Mount as well. And then our last level for our girls teams is our regional level team. Again, they're a team that practices twice a week, and most of their tournaments, if not all, are within our region. And when I say in our region, that is the Old Dominion region in which our club is affiliated with. So most of the tournaments that they play in will be in Richmond for sure at our club. They may travel to Williamsburg for a one-day tournament or Harrisonburg, things like that. But everything they do for the most part will be one-day events, with the exception of some 2- and 3-day events that we have here in Richmond. And Matt, you can kind of go over the boys program, boys teams, and levels that we have.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. My name is Matt Hefner. For those that don't know me, I'm one of the program directors here at RVC, and I'm the boys director on the director on the boys side. So similar to the girls side, we offer a couple different levels of teams. So we have our ones teams are equivalent to the national teams, and then our twos teams are more of a zonal team, and then we also have offer this year a couple regional teams at 16s and probably down into 15s on this group too. So for us, our ones teams and our twos teams will have pretty much the same tournament schedule during the regular season, simply because there's not that many boys tournaments to choose from. And then the main difference is that our boys ones teams are going to nationals, whether that's USAV or AAU nationals. And our twos teams, it's optional. So for the ones teams, the cost is built in to everything for nationals. That's one of the tournaments that you can see down there. And AAU nationals is in Orlando. And then we're waiting on USAV to announce a location for boys nationals and give dates for that as well.
The girls are in Orlando.
Oh no.
That's where they were this year or last year or whatever.
So
Please mute.
we are also working on updating our website with our coaches this year for the age groups, and we're going to put out some information on the boys side tomorrow on social media, just announcing our coaches, and we'll get that out to everyone as soon as we can, and as soon as we can get the website updated and put that information out there as far as coaches go. And we have a similar practice schedule. Boys, the ones and twos teams practice 3 days a week, and the regional teams practice twice a week. All the teams practice on Sunday at Bird Hill. Usually it's 4 to 5:45, 4 to 6 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And then we have our ones teams are also doing the strength and conditioning program. So that will be depending on which team you're on and the practice times, it'll be before or after practice over at Bird Hill. So it'll be in the same location that the girls teams are using. And to answer a quick question, yes, depending on the number of registrations and everything in the 17s and 18s age group, we can always do a state or regional, what we would call regional type team for boys. It just depends on the registration numbers for that age group and which how many total tryout and which to tell us which teams we can have. And the boys teams would just do one national tournament. So if they qualify, the first 4 tournaments that are listed on the schedule there, those are all USAV qualifiers. So if they qualify at one of those, they would automatically go to USAV nationals. If they don't qualify, they have an option to go to USAV nationals and playing the club division, which is a non-qualifying division, or they can choose the option to go to AAU nationals, which just has 1 division per age group. So that would be the choice that the ones teams can make, but they're going to one of them. If they don't qualify, they get to pick which event they would like to go to.
And I'll jump in really quickly and answer a question I saw here in the chat pertaining to the strength and conditioning program. So it's not only available to a player that makes the national team or to a player that makes the boys ones team. For those individuals, it's required and it's built into their team schedule and their team costs. For players that aren't on the national team or the boys ones team that are interested in doing that, they will have the ability to sign up for optional sessions that we'll have. Those would be offered on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then if we need to increase or open up another optional class because we get those filled, then we would do that. So just to reiterate on that, it's required for the national teams and the boys ones teams, but it's optional for everyone else.
And I'm showing you where that information is in the parent player handbook so that you can find that, but it is in there. Chris and Matt, do you guys want to share what's in pre-tryout orientation and then talk about travel and what, if any, changes we are going to make to travel?
Yeah, I can do pre-tryout orientation and tryouts, Matt, if you want to do the travel changes stuff. So the first thing, I saw a question in here, so I'll kind of answer that question and talk about pre-trial orientation as well. So the first thing that we have coming up will be our online registration. That opens on August 16th. You'll do your registration actually online. So in terms of trying out for our program, that would be the first step. After you have done that, or during your online registration, you'll actually select what teams you're trying out for. The option that you will have basically will ask you what is the highest level team that you're willing to play on. That's how you notify RVC what team you are interested, or your daughter or son is interested in trying out. When it comes to age, that is determined by USA Volleyball, and it is a chart that they use to determine what age you qualify for. On our website, we do have an age definition chart, which basically it's revolves around your birth year and birth month, and you would kind of follow that grid, and it'll tell you what age group that you do qualify to try out for. But hopefully that answers the question in terms of how do you let someone know what level you're trying out for. After you've completed online registration, before your set tryout, you would need to attend one of the pre-child orientation days. We'll have 3 of them, August 22nd, August 29th, and September 29th. 2 of those are going to be before the national and zonal tryout for the 15s and 18-year-olds. and then the other one is right before the younger kids tryouts. But you do need to attend one of those before you actually come to tryout. That particular process really entails parents and players coming up to the club. They'll turn in some paperwork. We'll do uniform fitting as well. And you'll collect your tryout t-shirt, which is very important because you need that for your tryout. Parents that have players that have already played at our club, when it comes to the try-on process for uniforms, we're using the same uniform provider that we had last year. So we ask that everyone kind of come to tryouts kind of prepared, knowing what sizes they're going to need by trying on their uniforms from this past season. We acknowledge that some kids may have to go up or down in size, but at least trying on at home will give you an idea of kind of what that sizing might be. For newer players to our club, you'll totally have the option and the opportunity to try on uniforms. Something that will be new for our club will be the travel gear that the players will get. They'll get a travel jacket and a travel bottom. So all of the players will have to try those on because that process is new. But that's pretty much it. You would drop in anywhere between 12:30 and 2:30 on those particular days. Turn in the paperwork, pick up your tryout shirt, try on uniforms, and then that's your day. I would expect you to probably be in our facility anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes to get this done, depending on how busy it is. And that'll take care of your process for pre-child orientation.
Great. Thanks, Chris. So I hope you guys can still see this, but I was showing you where you can find like the age definition chart and what that looks like. So you know which age group you're trying out for. There's information on the tryouts. And then you've got the drop downs that tell you. You'll also, once you register, receive an email that has some of this information in it. It should automatically tell you what age group your child falls in, and then when their tryouts are for that age group. I know there was a question in here about can a child try out for an age group higher so they can be with people in their grade level. We pretty much don't do that, but we do make exceptions sometimes, but you have to reach out to one of the junior program managers on that. So either Chris or Matt, Matt for boys, Chris for girls. And somebody asked about if this was for BYBL. We are happy to talk about BYBL as well. It's for both, or we also have another meeting on October 13th that'll probably be even more focused on BYBL, but we'll talk about both tonight. And not so much which level, but which team, which age group. Yes, you'll get that email. And okay, let me see if there's any, I think we caught most of those, caught up on those. As far as travel changes, you know, last year we only put 2 kids in a hotel room because of COVID. Typically it's 4. That helps to reduce expenses for you. Right now we're hoping to go back to 4, but depending again on what's happening, we might be doing only 2 kids to a room this year. And so that unfortunately really affects the cost, but we just don't know right now. And did you want to talk, Matt, about the flights, the air, you know, when they do go to nationals and when you're leaving, don't book your flight on the same day as the tournament. You'll end up having to recheck.
Yeah. So, I mean, on that end, and even for the tournaments that are qualifiers, so the ones listed on the schedule for the boys and girls, we try to advise everyone to take the latest flight out possible on the last day of a qualifier, because a lot of times you could be playing, if your team reaches a final at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, possibly even later, as travel tournaments often get delayed as matches take longer during the day. You can't really plan for that. And the same would apply to nationals. Any team that goes to either AAU Nationals or USAB Nationals, girls or boys, we always advise the same thing, or to even fly out,
Next day.
or fly out the day after, just to be extra safe, flying back from Nationals, so that we're not try not to have people that need to leave early in the playoff round or in the gold bracket or finals or semifinals. Another change for this year regarding, well, just travel in general, is that we're sticking with the same policy we had last year with no spectators at tryouts or at practices. The tournament spectator rules, I mean, that pretty much will vary by state regulations. And, you know, that's something that with COVID could change 2 weeks before a tournament, or even sooner than that. So we'll try and keep everyone updated as best we can throughout the season on what we're getting from tournament directors. But keep in mind, USA Volleyball advises everyone hosting a tournament to apply the stricter of the rules and regulations from the state, and to try and keep everyone safe. So if states change their regulations on different things regarding tournaments, that's where those changes could come in, and they could be somewhat last minute. And hopefully that won't happen, but again, that's kind of an unknown, but still a possibility for this season, especially for tournaments that are completely out of the state that we're traveling and flying in or driving to.
Thanks, Matt. We have a couple more questions in here. Matt and Chris, can you all see those? How soon after national team tryouts are players notified?
Yeah, I was writing down a lot of the questions that I saw. So notifications for trials are basically tryout results. Trials results will come out that Sunday evening for the national team first. Basically, those announcements are done 2 ways. Number one, there'll be a list put up on the website that has a list of the players' numbers that made the team that we're posting at that time. Briefly after that, those individuals will receive an email from myself or from Matt, letting them know that they've also made that team, and then letting them know of the process in terms of how they accept their spot on a team. We will continue that process until the national team per se is all completed and confirmed, and then we would notify the national team. Teams or players do have 24 hours to accept their spot on a team. Once that 24-hour period is passed, we will move on to the next player on the team, which we call alternates. So we just continue that process until all players are filled, and then we move on to the next team, and then we would start that process all over again. So Sunday night usually is when the national teams will start getting those emails.
Okay, and then what should they do if they have a conflict with a high school tournament and tryouts?
Yep. So you definitely want to email myself or Matt. Chances are, as far as I know, the dates that have been chosen for trials shouldn't conflict with any tournaments per se. Maybe the Friday session might interfere with some high school matches. So in a case like that, you definitely want to reach out and let myself or Matt know. The Friday session or missing one of the 3 days is not going to make or break a kid. Missing 2 of the 3, that could be a separator between a kid making the team versus another. But missing one of the 3 days usually is not a deal breaker when it comes to tryouts. Having those 3 days of evaluations really is important. But if we can get 2 of the 3, that really helps the coaches out a lot.
And then what about the positions on Friday? You know, do they
Yep.
have to know what position?
Yes. So depending on the age group, if you are above the age of 14, so 15 and up, you will need to know your position going into tryout, especially for that Friday session. So during registration, there will be a selection for you to pick what position you are trying out for. And depending on what you select, that is the session that you will come to on Friday evening. If you are interested in trying out for another position, then you would do that on Saturday. So Saturday would be a part of our trial where everyone tries out basically at every position. So that would be an opportunity for a kid to do another position that she might be interested in. But I always encourage the players, whatever their strongest position is, that's the session that they should come to that Friday evening.
And then we have a question about if you try out for a team and don't make it, can you then try out for BYBL? That's definitely the way we've set it up, so that BYBL tryouts aren't until Saturday and Sunday in November, so that decisions can be made and we can move down to that.
Let me answer this question. It says, if a player makes a national team but changes their mind and prefers to be on a zonal team, are they able to opt in for the lower level team? So that's a little bit of a complicated answer. It's not really that simple, because what will end up happening is the lower level team, the coach will have their team kind of picked out. And if a kid has to drop down because they're opting out, that makes things a little bit more conflicted for the coach than to have to, rearrange the team, because maybe they picked the team based off of personnel and things like that. My best suggestion is for any kid is to pick the team or pick the highest level team that they're able to play for. And you do that during registration. So if you know that you do not want to play on a national level team for whatever reason, or you're not interested in playing on the national team, don't select national as an option during registration. You would just pick zonal. And that way the coaches during tryouts will know not to select a particular player for the national team because they're not interested.
And do most of the kids have significant experience prior to trying out? I would say that's probably true for the higher level teams, but not necessarily for the lower level teams. And then it also depends on the ages. If the younger ages, they have less experience than the older age teams. Is there anything you guys want to add to that?
No, that's about right. From what I've seen over the years, you hit on it. On the higher level teams, for sure, it's where you're gonna most of the time see kids with the most experience. And my times here at the club, I have seen kids make the national team that didn't have a ton of experience compared to the other kids, but maybe their athletic ability was that of a national level kid, so they made the team. But for the most part, that level is where you're going to see the highest level of experience. And as you work your way down through the levels, that's where you'll see the lowest amount of experience. And then the same thing for the age group as well.
And there was a question about, does the team travel together? I think that just depends, right?
Yeah, so we do not require that the teams travel together. Depending on the teams and the times that I've been here, I've seen some teams kind of travel together, but that's, I guess, communicated and done and facilitated with within the parent group. But as a club, we do not book flights and transportation for the teams directly. All that is handled by the parents.
And B. Cord asked about travel days remaining on the weekends. The tournaments are mostly on the weekends, maybe except for nationals, but you may be traveling on a Friday or another day.
Or a Thursday, yeah.
Or a Thursday. So most tournaments that are multi-day and require travel are over a holiday weekend, but there is sometimes when you would miss some school, right, Chris?
Correct. Especially if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday tournament, you're more than likely going to miss your Thursday school session unless you get your flight right after school, and obviously then you'll miss that Friday session. Tournaments have at least gotten better about scheduling multi-day tournaments around holidays, like 3-day weekends, so that they minimize the number of days that kids do miss. but they can't do that for every single weekend. So there will be some days that the kids will miss school.
And Susan asked about explaining our philosophy behind parents not sharing a hotel room. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, it's better team management, just keeping up with all of the kids. And again, that issue that Chris mentioned earlier about finding hotel rooms. Some of these tournaments are stay and play tournaments. So the teams are required to stay at a certain hotel, and they don't always have enough rooms to accommodate parents as well. It's part of the team bonding experience. Matt or Chris, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, that's probably the two most important things that you hit on.
Okay. What does tryouts look like if they absolutely cannot make the dates?
What do tryouts look like if they can't make the dates, like the dates of tryouts?
Yeah.
So we would have to, in that situation, you definitely would want to communicate to myself or Matt, and we would try our best to figure out an alternative tryout date, which would more likely be before the actual tryout weekend.
Right.
That's not something we've discussed yet and put out as far as the date is concerned, but I'm sure it's something that we will look into.
Okay. Daniel asked about, do you have to fly or drive? That's up to you. We don't handle the travel arrangements, so you can decide what you want to do. And do they have to stay in the hotel with the team? Yes, they do. And why is my thing not working now? Come on.
There was a question about girls teams trying to get a USAV bid. So depending on the team level, there'll be a couple qualifiers that the girls will go to. The state level and regional level teams, there won't be any qualifiers that they would attend, but the national level team for sure will attend at least one qualifier this year.
Somebody asked about how long is the season. That depends on the level of team you're on. National and zonal teams, not all zonal teams, but some of them go into June, July, whereas most of the rest of the teams end Memorial Day weekend, and VYVL ends early May. Is that right?
Matt, I think Matt has that schedule, but I believe it's going to be mid to end of April.
Okay.
Mhm. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Practices for national teams start the week of November 29th. Is that correct?
November 28th will actually be the first practice for everyone if they
Okay.
practice on that Sunday.
Oh, okay. Well, will we add extra teams if there's demand? If there's demand and we have room, we will. Court
And
space.
coaches.
What'd you say?
And coaches as well.
Oh, and coaches, you're right. So we like to try really hard to let every kid play who wants to play. And I would say 1 year of jumping juniors is probably enough experience to try out for BYBL 12-year-old, wouldn't you, Chris or Matt?
Yeah, that's as much as some of the kids have,
Okay.
especially at BYBL.
There's not really any typical practice times because they're kind of all over the place. Boys tend to focus on Sundays, right? But we can't share the actual link to sign up yet. That opens up on Monday. No, the girls teams, by and large, practice at Stonebridge. So the Virginia Youth Volleyball League, that is, it's for 11 to 16-year-old girls. It's not part of the United States Association of Volleyball, USAV. It's not part of their program. So sometimes we will mix ages on a team if that makes it work better. It's just meant to be an introduction to travel volleyball. So I think we mentioned earlier, they will play a tournament in Virginia Beach just to kind of get that feel of what it's like to go to a away tournament and play, but primarily they'll play just in Richmond. Anything you want to add to that, Matt?
No, that's a pretty good description. It's really, especially at the younger age groups, to give kids their first taste of what travel volleyball is like, and having the same coach and the same team during a season for just about 4.5 months.
Right. Price says, I'll get to that in just a second, if you guys can bear with me a little bit longer. Will nationals teams play in the open class in any tournaments, or will they only play in club class?
So I guess the quick answer to that is our national teams only and mostly play in open level tournaments. In the years I've been here, our national teams have never played in a club, like the club level at any tournament. So depending on the tournament you go to, open is your highest level division that you have. And if you go to some other tournaments, they might call it something else. They might call it national, or premier is another name that some of them will call it, or elite. So it just kind of depends on the tournament we go to as what they call the top level. But for the most part, all the tournaments we're going to play in, they use the open terminology in terms of classifying their top division. And that's mostly where our national level teams will play.
And then Matt, will the boys ones team sometimes practice at Stonebridge and then have to drive to Bird Hill the same night for strength and conditioning?
As of right now, I don't believe so. I think if anything, they would have their strength and conditioning first, and then drive over to Stonebridge for practice. But it all depends on which team they're on, which age group they're playing in, because each age group has a different would have a different schedule for the workouts for the strength and conditioning portion.
There's a question about whether we have a college recruiting coordinator this season. We don't have someone specifically for that, though we do have resources that I'm going to show you soon. And Matt and Chris are wonderful. They know a lot of these college coaches and they are great. You just have to reach out and let them know if you need help or have any questions about recruiting. Minimum requirements to try out for a travel team. Jen, I'm not sure what you mean by that. We have the minimum requirements is your commitment, really, and then just being on the age group and then winning that spot, I guess, at tryout. And yes, VYVL does come to pre-tryout orientation as well. Okay, I think we caught up on the questions. So a couple of other things I wanted to just kind of hit on the website. This other tab is where I was trying to remember to go earlier, but there's some good information over here. Like, this is what we're doing. Here's our COVID protocols, or we just kind of generically called them health and safety changes, or what we're doing this year. So that's there. Some general changes. A lot of these really aren't changes. They were the same things we did last year, but I thought they bared repeating. The financials, and I apologize, we had someone out sick today, and I'd really hoped to have this up today, but she was out sick today, and so I am going to see if I can share the table for you. But this is the page where we try to sum up. This is everything you're going to be responsible for, so that there aren't any surprises. So the tryout fee, the team acceptance deposit, and it kind of gives you a breakdown of what that goes towards, what VYVL teams will pay. And it's not just a deposit, that's it for you. If you're on a travel team, you'll then have to pay for USA Volleyball membership. Then there's a team fee depending on the level and the age. And then there's tournament expenses. And this table is from last year. I'll share a table. I hope I can share a table in just a minute that'll show you this year. But honestly, these season totals did not change that much. And Matt and Chris do a really good job of keeping an eye on the expenses and everything. The main change is there is some change in the team fees, And the team acceptance deposit, like it says up there, is $525 this year. That really is, the reason we've had to do that, unfortunately, is that, you know, where it says $355 of your team fee, a lot of that is covering the volleyball and the uniforms and the warm-ups, because we have to order those for the teams. And we've already ordered the volleyballs. That's the only way we can do it and make sure we have them in time. We'll place the order for uniforms immediately after the teams are formed and we have the sizes. So those are expenses that we cover up front. So we make sure that that deposit that we get from you at least covers that. There is financial aid available. If you come to this page and click on here, it's also on the overview page. We've got the grants right now. Caitlin is looking at those. So if you would like to see if you can get some financial assistance for that, we also have a link there to a program called Every Kid Sports. It's not our program. It's a national program that also provides assistance for youth sports. This just talks about the financial agreement, which you will have to bring with you to pre-tryout orientation, which you will sign. The reason we do it that way is on that financial agreement, there's two ways that you can pay for this. We kind of talk about it down here. You can essentially, we can provide you basically a line of credit, and you have an account, and you know, we put the expense on there, and each month as there's a tournament, we add what the expenses for that tournament are, and you make payments on that each month. We hope that it's paid off each month. We recognize sometimes that won't happen because sometimes some months are bigger than others, and I get it totally. You have to kind of balance it out. As long as you pay something, you will not incur this $25 service fee. You will still have 1% interest if it carries a balance. But to do that, because it is really extending you a line of credit, we require your social security number on the financial agreement form. And that is why we take it as a paper copy, because we do not want it electronically stored anywhere where it could be hacked. We keep it under lock and key. I feel very few people have access to it, me and Patty, and that's maybe about it. Again, that stays under lock and key. We feel like it's been very safe to do it that way. Given that, we know that there are still some of you that are like, absolutely not, I will not give you my social security number, and we understand. So the other option becomes then that you give us a credit card authorization form, and at the beginning of December, so then it would be due by January 1, we charge you whatever the highest amount that it could possibly be for the rest of the season. Now, don't look at these numbers again. This is like it says up here at the top. These are still old numbers. They're not significantly higher, but they're a little bit higher than last year because we're going to more tournaments this year, we hope, fingers crossed. But I'll have them up. I should have those up by tomorrow, and I'm hoping I can show you those tonight. But if you don't want to give us your social security number, then this is the way we do it. We have the team fee. We take the high end of what we think the tournament expenses will be. We'll subtract the amount that went towards the team fee deposit, and then that's what's left. In addition to financial grants and aid for those who might want that, there are opportunities to fundraise. Some of these are baked in. Part of what you're paying at the beginning is $50 towards this raffle. So when you get those raffle tickets from your coach, you have already paid for those. You can just keep them and put your name on it and hope you win the raffle, or you can sell each of them for $1 and you get that $50 back. You also are responsible for helping the team, helping to set up for one of our tournaments. And when you do that, you earn another $60 credit to your account. And then there's some other things that you can do. we don't want you, we have to be kind of careful because fundraising is regulated by the state. So we have to be a little bit careful about what activities you might do. But these are pre-approved ideas that you're happy you can run with these. And this one's kind of cool. It earns a fair amount of money. There's of course, y'all have all heard the restaurants where you can go and eat and they give something back. Richmond Kickers has a thing. We do this thing with reserving a parking spot and tent. You could do a yard sale. You'd be welcome to use the lawn at RVC, just setting that up. There's just some different ideas here. So those are different ways, you know, our goal is that everyone gets to play regardless of their ability to pay. So if your child wants to play on a team and you're looking at these expenses saying there's just no way, reach out to me, reach out to Chris, reach out to Matt, and we'll do everything we possibly can to make it possible for your son or daughter to play. Excuse me. One other thing I did want to show you on here, because I think this is pretty cool, is a resources page we have, and we update this throughout the year. So you can see some of the things we have here: how to be a great teammate, some mental health, some nutrition, lots of volleyball drills, and the recruiting information isn't on here like I thought it was. So I'll get that up there too. But we do have, there's a ton of really good recruiting information out there. And again, Matt and Chris are really good resources for that. We can get you the help you might want with that. So I think that's actually, let me look at Patty's notes. I think I covered most of it. 2 options for paying. Oh, when you register, be sure to put a active email for you as the parent into the database for the billing email, because that's where she'll send. We don't send out the account. You have to log in to check your account, but she'll send out reminders like, hey, it's the 1st of the month, be sure to check your account, that kind of thing. Or if she has questions or whatever, she will use that address. So make sure that's a valid, active email that you check frequently, and add us to your safe senders list so that we can make sure you get that information. And I think that's about all we have. So let me see if I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to see if I can pull up the those tables for you so that you can see those. Actually, let me open up both of those. Okay, I keep doing that, and the computer doesn't like it when I do that. Okay, I guess I'll just have to do it that way. Okay. Share screen. This is the updated table that shows all the fees for this year. So the $75 registration, the team fee, USAV membership, that $525 due by January 1 would be the remainder of the team fee. And then this is a total. This total actually includes the team fee in it as well. Of all the costs, including tournaments that we anticipate for the year. The only thing not included is the coaches' travel and lodging. No, wait, that is included. It does not include the players' travel and meals. Okay, so the coaches' lodging, the coaches' travel, the coaches' per diem are included in here. There might be some ancillary costs like parking or something like that, that's not in there, but by and large, we have tried to be as inclusive as we can on this number right here. Like at the most that you would have to pay, and this is over 6 to 7 months, depending on the level of team that you're playing on. So if you're paying with the credit card, this is the total that you would get charged the first week of December. It's the team fee, the high end estimate of tournament expenses, less the $525, and then that's what's left. And that would be charged to your credit card on January 1 if you decide to do that. If you're doing an account with the RVC, these are just tournament expenses that come in throughout the year, come in at different times of the, different months, depending on that tournament schedule we looked at. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody have any questions on that? Oh, we've got some more questions in the chat. Let me, now we have someone who asked, why are tryouts so early this year if we're not practice until November?
Yeah,
I think a lot of that has to do with uniforms, right, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to address that because I saw 2 questions pertaining to that. So we did it early last year, large in part because of COVID and the high school break and things like that. I've been at this club as a coach 10, 11 years now, been in this position for 1, and then have been really affiliated in the office for about 5 or 6. And in that time, I've been really involved in the creation of the tournament schedule, securing housing, and uniforms. All of those things are time sensitive, items that we've seen in the past. The longer we put it off to get it taken care of, the more at risk we put ourselves for something bad to happen. We've had situations where uniforms don't show up on time right before a tournament, or there are errors with uniforms and we're scrambling last minute to get those things taken care of. So being able to get tryouts done out the way early gives us a lot of leeway to, number one, get uniforms orders in on time, make sure that everything is correct, and then to address any issues that we might have once we receive uniforms. Another huge part of that has to do with tournament entries and hotels. A lot of the tournaments are starting to figure out ways to guarantee payment from teams and guarantee teams are entering into their tournaments. And so what's happening now is teams are requiring clubs to have complete rosters before they can register for a tournament, which doesn't sound entirely terrible, except when a lot of these tournaments are requiring you to stay at their select hotels, that's where it gets dicey. And at RVC, we try as much as possible when we stay at hotels, we try to stay very close to the playing venue where we don't have to have an additional cost for rental vehicles and things like that. Well, when it comes to getting and securing these hotels, the hotels require you to be registered for an event and approved to be able to rent or book at their hotels. So they've understand this money game and found a really slick way to guarantee teams are paying money up front and kind of locking you into that agreement. And if we want to be able to get into the tournaments that we want to get into and not be waitlisted, and then get into the hotels that are optimal that we want to get into, it's very important that we get trials done as soon as we can.
I was just responding to Shannon about coming from New York and needing a time. In a situation like that, we can schedule a time for you to come into the office and take care of what you couldn't get done at pre-tryouts. We're happy to do that. I think we already addressed the thing about the link. And BYVL would definitely accommodate, right, Matt, if a child needs to miss a practice here or there because of another sport?
Oh yeah, for sure. We can work around that, and that's just figuring out with the coach of the team.
And thanks, Peter, found out where the recruiting information was. So it is on our website, just not on the resources page. So thank you for that. It is there, but if anybody needs help finding it, feel free to let me know. So under juniors travel and then recruiting. The link will be shared on, we'll probably put it up late Sunday. So our practice is on the weekends. It really depends on the team. Are there any questions that we've missed? Oh, VYVL tryouts for 15 to 16 is listed for the 20th. Sorry, I've been trying so hard to get that website right and I had a mistake. Hopefully that's the only one. Is it Saturday or Sunday, Matt?
It's Sunday, Saturday.
Saturday.
That Saturday,
Okay.
yeah. So I'll make sure that gets fixed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I would say the next level after VYVL is the regional, right? That's the next level up.
Yep.
Nope, got another message. Oh. Anything else? Anyone? I think I've hit most of what I thought I needed to hit. Chris, Matt, anything?
Yeah, I'm looking through my sheet here that I wrote. I think I answered all the questions that I wrote down.
Okay.
Just about, so. Yeah, I think I'm good unless we got any other questions in the chat.
Yeah,
But-
somebody asked about what the window is to register. No, it's not just one day and it's not first come, first serve or anything like that. So, you know, you don't have to do it on the 16th. The only caveat is that you have to do it before attending pre-tryout orientation. So whatever day you're deciding to come to orientation, please register before that. Right?
Yep.
Right, yeah.
There was a question I saw about the workouts being in a different building. Somebody asked if that was correct. So that is correct. The girls mostly practice at our Stonebridge facility. So they will have to for sure go from either Stonebridge to Bird Hill or from Bird Hill to Stonebridge for practices. I think Matt alluded to it earlier that there may be some boys teams that are practicing at Bird Hill, so won't have to make that drive. And then there's some that are at Stonebridge, depending on the team. But all of the girls teams do practice at Stonebridge, so we'll have to make that drive.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out if there's, you know, resources are limited, but would love to figure out a way to make it so that doesn't happen. We'll see. Maybe one year we'll be able to figure that out. It's a really good program though. And Brandon, the trainer from Bon Secours, had a lot of success with the kids that he worked with last year.
I am going to put my email in the chat.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions coming up, but if anybody does have any questions pertaining to our program, you feel free to reach out to me. Matt, I'll put yours in there as well. And you can reach out to
Chris,
Matt.
hold on a second.
Go ahead, brother.
Guys, there's a good question on here. If tournaments are canceled due to COVID, are fees adjusted? The fees are adjusted as much as we can. So depending on the tournament and how far in advance it's canceled, we don't always get all the money back from the entry fee because they have to pay people to set up courts, especially in convention centers and that kind of thing. And they have their own expenses to run the tournament. So if a tournament is canceled due to COVID, we will return whatever money we get back from hotels, entry fees, and that sort of thing. Some hotels keep a night worth of the fees that we pay, or some of them return all of that money. And it just depends on the tournament and what they send back to us. Then we just send that back. We just split that back up through the teams.
We'll credit you with whatever we get back. Hopefully it's the entire amount.
And then Travis asked about boys national teams. So boys national teams, so the ones and the twos teams, they have 3 days of practice during the week. One on Sunday and then 2 during the work between Monday and Thursday. And then Depending on the team, it depends on their strength and conditioning schedule. So some of them may have just 3 days a week if they can get both strength and conditioning and practice on the same day. Or they might have a 4th day where it's just strength and conditioning. But that all depends on which team they're on and the practice schedule for that team. And practice schedules are pretty much set. And on the boys' side, every boys' team's definitely practices on Sunday as one of their days.
And there was a question about VYBL tournaments. Right now, we're looking at 4 tournaments, right? 1 that's in Virginia Beach and 3 in Richmond. Is that right?
Yes. And the one that's in Virginia Beach is a 2-day event down at TVA, down at their new facility. And that will be an overnight. That will be the only overnight tournament that we have in BYBL if you want to get a hotel room for Saturday night. And if not, if you want to drive back and forth down to the beach, that's fine too.
All right, I think that's mostly it. Well, there's a question about practice times being shortened. I think not, because I know the coaches are very protective of their practice times, but I know that we make the trainer aware of that and he adjusts the strength and conditioning work that he does on those days, right, Chris and Matt?
Yeah, and the other thing too, I've been here with a couple different companies that we've had strength and conditioning with. Number one, the schedules are built so that the kids, if they have to travel from one building to the other, they have plenty of time to be able to do that before or after their practice to make their session. And then the time that I've been here when we've had strength and conditioning, we haven't had to shorten the amount of practice time or shorten the strength and conditioning time so that the kids had, I guess, energy to do both. Like Darcy mentioned, usually the coaches are in good communication with the strength and conditioning staff in terms of what they're working on and things like that. So no one's going to get burnt out because they're doing both on the same day. Like I said, we've seen it before and we've never had that kind of issue.
Matt, there's a question there about Power League tournaments for boys teams.
So right now we're still trying to work out all the details for the boys Power League, and that'll involve teams in Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, and possibly southeastern PA or southeastern PA in that area. There will probably be 1 or 2 that will be out of state, North Carolina, and maybe 1 down at Virginia Beach or in Northern Virginia, and 1 definitely in Richmond. So we're trying to work out that final schedule. And the good part is that's involving the majority of the boys clubs in this, like in the Mid-Atlantic region, like PA, Virginia, North Carolina. I think a couple of teams in Tennessee are interested. So it's all in this general area. So it would definitely be within driving distance, I would say, up to maybe a 3.5-4 hour drive at the most, depending on where we end up hosting tournaments at. But that schedule will hopefully be out by the end of August at the very latest. But it's new this year, so we're trying to work out all the details and get all that stuff straightened out.
Great. All right, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you all for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. I know it can be a really confusing process, but Matt, Chris, and I are here happy to help and answer questions and help you understand the process. And I promise I'm working on our website to hopefully make it a little bit easier to find information and a little bit more understandable. But thank you for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you all for all of your time.